There is no doubt that Corvette is one of the most iconic cars of all time, and since this American name has been around for such a long time, it just couldn't escape the bad taste tuners. But the case of Corvette is a bit different, because differently from Euro exotics, which are mostly sold as fully converted cars, with tons of carbon fiber, aero packs and sometimes gold and diamonds, vets mostly receive kits which are quite unique. But unique doesn't always mean good. So hello guys and welcome back to another video, and here are the worst tuned Corvettes part 1. I want to start this list with the stretched Corvettes, since looks there are plenty of them. Like in the case of the 360, I just don't get the point of these limousines, because first, with all that added part, you completely lose the performance part that makes cars like Corvette special. Plus, stretched limousines are supposed to be more spacious in order to accommodate as many people as possible. That's why cars like the Lincoln Town Car and the Cadillac Escalades are perfect to be turned into limousines. But I guess some people like things quote-unquote unique. Anyways, back to the vets. Looks like people have been turning these cars into limousines since the days of the C3. All the examples that I have managed to find just looks awful. And not just because they are stretched sport cars, but because the work done on these cars is mostly bad, especially the B-pillar. Now there are many versions of the Limo C3s out there, and some are totally crazy, like this 6-wheel version. But the most famous one is the C3 limo from the 1999 Ben Stiller movie Mystery Man. This limo is 7 meters long, and the interior isn't that great, but it has a quite unique feature, since the rear part is a T-top. But a big drawback about the Corvette limos is the share of fiberglass. Now, fiberglass is used for most of the aftermarket stretched limousines, but because the Corvette is fiberglass car in first place, adding extra fibers makes it even weirder. But with all that drug money being around in the 80s, the C4 was quite the perfect car to be turned into a show-off limo. Like in the case of the C3, there were many versions of it, and again, some were totally crazy. But the main thing is that here we see a much better work, even though it's still questionable. Question becomes even more obvious when we see the interior of this car. Despite being a limo, the C4 has only 4 seats, which in a sort of way reminds me Jeremy Clarkson's stretched Fiat Panda. The main reason why there are only 2 seats looks like is because of the drive shaft, which takes half of the space. So my question is, why don't make it just a 4-door? The car would still look stupid, but not laughable stupid, even though I have to say that I really love those red seats. I'm going to talk about the rest of the limo Corvettes on the second part of this video, since otherwise this would become just a Corvette limousine video. The retro style conversions are always very popular, and they come in all shapes and styles. Now I really have to say that I hate these conversions. Now, like I said, there are many options out there, but I'm only going to talk here about the C5, the Nomad based on the C5, since in my opinion it's the weirdest. This kit was built by Advanced Automotive Technologies, a design house based in Michigan and headed by ex-Buick designer Steve Paisner. Through the years, AAT has presented a number of different kits and all were a bit weird and followed the retro style trend of the late 90s and early 2000s. Known as Commemorative Edition Sportwagon, this kit was presented in 2004 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Corvette. The car was meant to be a modern representation of the Corvette wagon that Chevrolet had presented in 1954, which later became the Nomad. Now, the original Nomad, like the C1 Corvettes, is just beautiful. The MK1 and the MK2 were also beautiful, but the Corvette Nomad was just something different. So AAT decided to make the vet Nomad a reality, with using C1 design on the C5 body. And this is the problem with this car, because what the original Nomad concept was just a shooting brake version of the Corvette. And as we have seen with the Callaway's Aero Wagon, a shooting brake Corvette is pretty cool. The main problem is that the lines just don't match at all, and this is something that can be said for all the retro style kits, like the Impreza Casablanca or the Mitsubishi Pajero Junior Flying Pug. Personally, I would point out here two things, the really long hood and the tail fins. One of the most interesting things is that AAT was hoping that they would strike a deal with GM, but this never happened. It's a bit interesting that because GM was playing with the Nomad name at the time. First, they had presented a concept in 1999, and in my opinion the car looked pretty nice, at least from the front. The rear was so-so. Sadly, GM had no plans to put this car into production. But 5 years later, in 2004, GM presented another Nomad concept. Then this was a true modern representation of the original C1 Nomad. Differently from the 99 concept, the new Nomad could see the day of production sometime, and the plans were that the car would use the Kappa platform, which was the same platform that the Pontiac Solstice and the Opel GT or Saturn Sky used, which would have made the Nomad a really interesting car. Sadly, this never became a reality, and for as long the USVs are trendy, we probably never are going to see another Nomad. The SV9 Competizione took an approach that was quite popular back in the early days of Corvette, when different Italian coach builders would take the American sport car and would pack it with a beautiful Italian design body. And this car looked pretty good. Even Chevrolet tried to work with different Italian design houses, like with Vignale in 1961 for the Corvette Kelly, in 64 with Pininfarina for the Rodine, again with Pininfarina in 73 for the Ford Rotor Vet, and in 84 and 90 with Bertone for the Ramaro and Nivola. While all the cars that I listed are beautiful, this isn't the case for the SV9, and two are the main problems in my opinion. First, looks like a kit miles away, while cars like for example Isogrifo 90 were also based on the Corvette, the car didn't look at all like one. The second one is that the car is trying to look Italian by taking parts and bits from other Italian cars, but at the same time, like I said, still having the Corvette look. I'm not saying that Corvette is ugly, in no way, but when you add these parts which were designed for totally different cars, the car just will look like a mess. So guys, thank you for watching and see you next time.